right. Hey, this is John Chen, author of Engaging Virtual Meetings. You're on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. I'm calling in here from Redondo Beach. And I've gotten the exciting part to see a whole bunch of amazing speakers, including Jay Abraham, Joseph McClendon III, who is Tony Robbins, right? One of his top coaches, and Dr. Jim Doty, who I just watched his TED Talk on the art and science of compassion. Meanwhile, I'm here and I'm just proud to, number one, be wearing this is my NSA 5-year pin that I have on today. And I'm here. We got an amazing special guest today. We have, she is I don't know if I think it's director or in charge of member experience. She's got a CAE, which means that she's a certified association executive. And most of all, she's part of NSA or National Speakers Association, which I am honored to be the president-elect for our NSA Northwest chapter. I've got here Maranda DeSanto. Hello, Miranda. How are you
Hey,
doing?
hey, John, I'm good, but probably not as good as you because I'm calling from northern Minnesota, where it's literally 0 degrees Fahrenheit right now. So thanks for just rubbing that Redondo Beach. Just dig it in there. Just keep bringing that up.
That's what we're sharing. What speakers do, right? We're
I
sharing the love. We're
know.
sharing the love. Oh my gosh. So great. Thank you so Miranda for taking the time around here. Let's do the easy part. So a lot of my friends don't know who you are because they don't know also what NSA is. So I'd love to hear who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Maranda DeSanto. I've been with NSA for a couple years now, and I'm their director of member experience here. So all of our interactions with our members that we have, I kind of provide oversight on all of those, make sure things line up really well, make sure our member experience is exceptional in all ways, shapes, and forms. Specifically, some of my roles, I work with you, John, a lot through your role in the chapter. I work with our $1 Million Speaker Group. I work with all of our memberships and subscriptions and benefits and our affinity partners that we have. I also happen to be the executive director for the NSA Foundation, which is another one of our member benefits,
Oh,
giving back to our members and the communities that we serve. So those are, kind of the more specific things that I do in my role here. If you're unfamiliar with the National Speakers Association, our mission is to help professional speakers thrive and influence, whether they are a MC, whether they're doing podcasts like you, John, whether they're a keynote, a trainer, a coach, whatever it happens to be, anybody who uses the spoken word to influence the world, that's who we want to help.
well, congratulations too on the 50th year of the NSA. Although now, in the pre-show, you let me know you just joined last year at NSA. So talk to me about a little bit about what you did before and why did you choose NSA of all the amazing places to
Oh
spend your
gosh.
energy?
Yeah, so I've been in association management for 19 years now, I guess. You have to keep adding those numbers. And I've gotten to that point in my life where I'm like, oh, I'm really dating myself now. Like,
Yeah, oh, here, I'll share one, Miranda. I won an award called the Top 40 Entrepreneur under the age of 40. And then I have to add the line after it, which is when I could actually win that award. Right.
so I worked with realtor associations before,
Hmm.
and I love association work. As I mentioned, I'm in northern Minnesota, so one of the things that drew me to the National Speakers Association over other opportunities is, of course, we're a completely virtual association now, which happened, in few years before I got to NSA, but it opened up a lot of opportunities to bring in staff from all over. We have some in Arizona, Texas, Pennsylvania. We have a few in Minnesota, actually, although I think I am the northernmost member of the NSA team. And honestly, other than just it being a good opportunity where I didn't have to leave my home to join, the NSA team, what really shone through for me when I was doing my research on the National Speakers Association is that NSA is an organization that lives its values. You see it all over our online content. And then once you actually get into knowing a little bit more about the members and the organization and stuff like that, it's obvious that our members live the spirit of Cabot. And when I got here, John, like I was like, we have a closed Facebook group for our members, and people be like, I have a question about this. Can somebody help me? And within like an hour, there's like 20 comments from people like, oh, try this. And I was like, I need someone to explain to me what's going on here. Cause like I saw the values, right? But you get in, I'm like, these people are like fanatical about this helping others thing. And I don't quite understand it yet. And I'll be honest, there's still some things about the culture that I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I can't believe that's happening.
Well, I gotta share a personal story with that, Miranda, because well, two things that I posted, and some of them are kind of vulnerable. And again, I've been a member of multiple other associations, and one of the challenges in associations, I think as an association management, is sometimes you can do things like volunteer, you can be the president, right? And if you get out of the board and you step away, like you might disappear, right? And people won't care. But two things I think were really key. One is I lost a really, really big contract. Like it was a multi-year with an amazing government agency. It was really cool work, and they had a leadership change. And instead, I thought they were going to wait a year to like consider my contract and like hire me this year. They just chopped it off as soon as they got in, and I was
No
like
notice.
heartbroken.
It,
Oh my, no, no, oh,
oh,
no, email too. It was like a breakup by text. It was so bad, right?
oh, it hurts.
For something that I've been like training their top 50 leaders every year for the last 5 years. And I posted it on members only NSA, and like 80 to 100 people gave condolences, gave tips, like, here's to something better. And like literally, like, what do you now you have this open space? What are you going to do with it? And so there are all these really cool positive questions. The second one is that I literally pushed the button on Monday this week that to put all my application in for the CSP or the certified speaking professional, which is a big deal. Only 17% of the NSA members have this. And like over 100 people commented and or like this comment. And so you're right, there is something that's different, and I'm appreciating that because I'm investing more of my time and energy into NSA right now, and I will continue to do that if the community continues to reciprocate that. And I want to just let you know it's kind of rare, and it's happening here in NSA.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, John. I'm glad to hear it's working. Like, I love hearing individual stories like that too. Like, you see it, but when someone's like, this is how it actually changed my life, like, that's awesome.
Yeah, yes, and yeah, I have lots and lots of other stories with that. No, but watch, I do want to do something really funny, Miranda. Now, so I'm sitting here, and again, I'm on virtual meetings. You say live the values. So actually, you had to really make me think. I already know that this camera angle is a little bit, but wait, I think I have a fix. Give me 1 second. Watch it. So because like again, I am not in my studio, so I'm in a place
Yeah,
in
where are you?
Redondo
Tell us
Beach.
again, John.
Oh yeah, oh that's right. We're in Redondo Beach. I can fix this just a little bit. Oh, I'm so close. All right, so I picked a lower chair, and I still can't quite get this thing high enough because normally I would try and get here, and it's not. I can't get that low. Okay, but anyways, I had to try it because one of the things that's important, like in NSA, is this with camera angle. And so, like, I've really tried to do something. I gave you the benefit, though, at least of stabilizing the camera, because if I handheld this, like this interview is
Be
like
all
this,
over.
oh, it's so painful, right? It's so painful. All right. Well, anyways, it should be a touch better. So Miranda, tell me this. So, when you think about member experience, one of the top goals we're going to have is not only, of course, recruiting new members, but retaining our members uh, who are here, because that's way easier. What's some of the things that you take from your past experience that you're bringing here as a strategy to increase that member experience? Because again, like if you have this feeling of community, you're not going to quit. You're going to renew.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on like,
Yeah.
how do you approach this of member experience?
Yeah, and that's a big part of it. And I'll start by like some of the things we do for new members first. You mentioned the community, and like anybody who's gone to a high school dance like by themselves knows like just building a community or like people it's it's difficult to do for children, but for adults too. Like it's as much as we're like, oh, I'm independent, like I feel good about who I am. I know who I am. Like you walk into a room where you don't know anybody. I don't care if you're introvert, extrovert, whatever. You're gonna take a breath and go, okay, there's not a community when you walk into a room. So
Yeah.
we recognize that with our new members who are just joining us and don't have that kind of pre-built. Some of them do come in knowing a few people, but we've actually launched last year these new member cohorts so that we can help onboard our new members into like all of the things that NSA has to offer in pieces over the course of a year. Another key part of that is helping build that community. So they come in with a group of people who are joining around the same time, and they are building community together as they are coming into NSA, so that, like, we're all new here. And let's tell you a
Yeah.
little bit so you feel familiar with NSA. And we have a couple key folks here who have been part of NSA, know what it's about to help kind of guide you through that process. So
Mm.
that the key like takeaway from that is, where possible, help people build that community when they come in. And
Okay.
certainly throughout, like, we have another number of other programs that supports that as well. As you know, we have, for, whether it's new members or people who are continuing, we have a number of community groups to connect on different things. Like, and I may say the name wrong, but John, you've been instrumental in starting the Asian Pacific Islander NSA community group as well. How did I was like,
Nailed it. You nailed it. Yeah. Actually, I'll give you the one insider. The group actually decided to call it API plus
I saw
NSA,
that. Yeah,
taking
awesome.
yeah, taking a nod from LGBTQ plus and saying
Yeah.
that the plus represents also allies and any of the cultures we might have missed. And so I thought actually really cool nod that this group, that was their suggestion to put
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
way.
that's awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
So we have groups like that. And then of course, like, the connections that folks make at our in-person events are like, those are truly life-changing. Like, I've heard so many stories from people, and I'm sure you have too, of like, I just, happened to be at a reception or whatever, sitting next to this person in one of our keynote sessions, got to talking to them. We've known each other for 20 years now, and we talk every month or whatever it happens to be. They're my first call. So that is a special sauce that NSA has going on for building that community.
Well,
And yeah.
oh, let me share one thing and hold your thought there. Is that so I have made friends with Bob Pike, like on the training side as well as the NSA side, and the group asked me to run. He had a celebration of life because he had entered hospice. He had a celebration of life, and it was really crafty. He created a celebration of life that he wanted to do when he was still there. So we did this whole thing, and I don't know. Have you seen this video yet, Miranda?
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
And so the reason why I'm telling you too, I just his amazing wife just gave me permission to allow to put the celebration of life into anybody's digital vault, any chapter, and
Awesome.
it because this thing is a Hall of Fame speaker masterclass, right? Let me just tell you, Ken Blanchard and him, Ken Blanchard, the 1 Minute Manager, was like this gigantic famous management book at the time, came in there and he came in to do the opening prayer, right? And it's because the two of them have been made friends like a long time ago. They end up running like a company together, and so there's like a Naomi, right?
Yeah.
Dempsey, a lot of these like top members, and I think one of them is in Arizona, like the original five member who also
Yeah,
spoke at this,
right.
and so like that's that spirit of Cabot, right? And nobody got paid, nobody wanted to get paid for this thing, right? Everyone wanted to just be there to celebrate another member, and we captured this thing, and again, that's that spirit of giving and sharing. And a lot of them said that, like, he said somebody came up to him who is now a national speaker, and she came up at a conference hearing him speak and said, how do I become a national, speaker? And he
Mm-hmm.
gave five things, and one of them was join NSA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Well,
and
and you bring up a really, another good point, John, and that is, I know there's a lot of organizations where, you'll have your 20, 30, 40. We have some 50-year members that, they got their little group, and they do because they've known each other a long time. But like, I'm thinking about a brand new member who came to Thrive last year. Just joined NSA. They did the bundle offer, came to Thrive, and they would just, any speaker who was on stage or like any board member or longtime members, whatever, he was very engaged in, I'm going to go talk to that person. I'm going to go ask them about whatever. And every one of those interactions was filled with welcoming, let me share. It's so nice to meet you. And it's genuine, like, you go to one
mm,
of our events it doesn't matter if they've been speaking for 40 years and they make millions of dollars or whatever, and you're just starting out. It literally does not matter. Have a conversation with any of our members, and they're happy to talk to you and meet you and share with you. And and that's an exceptional thing for our community as well. And because like I'll speak as a staff person, that's not
Yeah.
something that I can do as a staff person or our entire NSA team can do as staff. That's something in the culture of the organization. And that is something that is driven by the members, continued by our new members as they join, and they get to be the 10, 20, 30-year members. So it's really something special to see.
Well, let's see, Miranda, have you ever heard of the term Blasian?
Blasian. No, I don't think so. Just today.
What's going to happen today, right? And so, anyways, there are times in the history, like American's history, where Black and Asians have like unified and worked together towards things.
Oh,
So,
never
so we
heard that
affectionately see the good. I taught you something, and so it's called Blasian power. Like when Blacks and Asians. So I've actually done a lot of work with the Black community here in Seattle. Like I've helped produce their shows. And it's kind of cool to be behind the scenes. Like actually in February, I'm going to produce something called the Black-owned Business Excellence, and it's going to be, you've seen. I don't know if you've seen my full-blown hybrid, but it really brings us educational material to audiences that can't physically get to the place, and it's just so exciting for them to see that reach. But today I just want to give a shout out to one of our NSA members, Robert Kennedy III, who is the president of Black NSA, agreed to speak to our group. And my intention is, we're the new kids on the block, API NSA. And I just said, they're 10 years and they have like that. Black NSA is like one of the greatest examples of an affinity group, right? Like serving each other and gaining some power, or whatever you want to call it. Like they have their own. I tell people they have their own award show at the national conference.
Yeah.
And they're the only chapter right now that's their own virtual chapter. You can technically join just Black NSA instead of any city
Or
or
both.
location based, or both. Yeah, it's not an either or, it's a both and.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
anyways, he's speaking today at 12 to 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and we're going to record that and hopefully share that back with the group. So anyway, I just want to share how those affinity groups also find the way. Like, how do you find community? Because there's nothing crazier than 1,100 professional speakers walking in the door.
Right. Yeah. And we have a lot of, so 1,100, that's about how many we had at Influence this
Influence also.
past year. Yep. And so, our community groups connect online because obviously, like, that's needed. We have a few in-person events throughout the year, but, it's not like you're going to go back to your little, well, you do kind of, everybody goes back to their office, their little box, but, as humans, like, there's still value and desire to connect with each other, especially in like a professional space where you've got things percolating in your head that you need some feedback on, or you're wondering about. Like, those things happen all the time. So our community groups have online forums that they can connect on. And then at our in-person events, at Influence, we have oh gosh, I'm gonna forget what it's called, but our community connection
Yeah.
lounge, I think I'm
Yeah.
pretty close. Where, all of our community groups have a little area, so
Yeah.
like this will be for our API Plus group this, year as well. Have a little area
Yay.
where they can connect with anybody who's attending. Hey, come learn about our group. We'd love to talk to you and get connected and kind of get hooked together in person as well to build those communications and that community throughout the year in the virtual space. So yeah, it's a great thing. And honestly, John, as you know, like, it's 95% volunteer run. Like, it's just our members, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is fantastic. Like, if
Well, it's
I
kind of like, I
I
don't
could do
know,
all of it, yeah.
maybe speaking is the right business for this because, like, I don't know, we only get paid a percentage of the time of the year on stage. And so, we're always looking to like find another way to serve during the rest of that time. Although I will share this. I don't know if you've heard about this yet. In February, too, API Plus NSA decided to host a API speaker showcase.
Nice.
So it's
Awesome.
TED
Good for
Talk
you.
style, 18 minutes. Everyone gets 18 minutes. There's 2 minutes of talk-a-dot. Like, it's like if you want to like contact that speaker, and I'm going to try and get as many of them in as possible. we're also collaborating with the organizations like MPI and NACE and trying to, find out where are all these Asian Pacific Islander speakers. And again, that idea came from API Plus NSA, where they said, don't do it in May when it's too late. Why don't you do it in February? And now we have 3 months to try and close some of these, speaker deals because everyone's going to be looking for these speakers in May as the national market. So, anyways, that's an idea that got birthed out of MPI Plus NSA.
Are you doing it virtually?
Yeah, it's all virtual.
Awesome. Perfect. That'll be great.
Yeah, so watch the NSA Facebook, and you'll see the invite as well as if you know other speakers and they haven't signed up yet, please let me know.
Cool.
We still have a few spots.
Awesome.
So Miranda, let's see. So your life went virtual. All of our lives went virtual the last couple of years, and you might have been doing virtual work beforehand. I'd be curious. What's your views on like what has to happen, of course, in a meeting for it to be engaging for you? Because I'm sure you've attended one or more terrible virtual meetings, but I also probably because you have NSA, like you've seen some extraordinary virtual stuff. So I'd love to hear what has to happen for you.
Yeah. I mean, number one's content, right? Like, yeah,
Yes.
and you don't necessarily know until you get in there. Sometimes, like maybe the description looks great, and you get in, you're like, okay, I'm ready to stab my eyes out. Like, this is rough. So, I think content is key, obviously, for anybody. And whether, you say meeting, but whether that's a
Yes.
meeting or it's a training or, whatever it is, like
Whatever.
content is number one, right? And then on top of content is two-way communication. So, like however you can facilitate, whether it's breakout groups and you're talking with people individually or in small groups or whatever, or you're using the chat or you're doing whatever, like making sure people are still engaged. Like for virtual meetings, I think those are the two key things. Like, and if you don't have content, just don't.
Don't have the meeting, right?
Just don't have a meeting. Don't have a meeting. Like, yes, that's my favorite thing. Can we cancel a meeting because we don't have content? Perfect. Let's do that.
Oh my goodness. Do you have an example? Do you have an example of the best or the worst? Either one is fine.
I feel like I block out the worst. I'm like, I know they've happened. They've happened, right? Like I've been there and I've been like, wow, okay, that was a waste of an hour of my life for whatever reason. But I don't have a good example of the worst. I mean, I think everybody's been there, but I was recently so as you mentioned, I have my CAE, so there's a number of credits I have to get
To renew.
for renewal each 3 years or whatever. So
Yeah.
but there's one that I was at the other day that was really good, where like there was information presented. Like here's the topic happened to be on ethics. So which most people are like, oh, there's your first issue. It's on ethics. Like that's not fun. But that like I like that kind of stuff. So it was a good topic for me. But there was a presentation of the information, which is really interesting, good discussion. And then there were scenarios presented, and we went into breakouts to, okay, put yourself in that scenario. And most of them were based on real and horrifying actual situations in ethics. So we went into breakouts and said, okay, what is the issue here? How would we handle it? And so that was, I mean, I love that. And if you haven't figured it out already, I'm definitely one of those people, like if I'm in a meeting or work group or something like that,
yeah,
I shouldn't give this tip away about myself, but if there is silence, I will start talking.
I depend on people like that. Like I tell people about silence, right? Like if you ask, we actually have a whole technique now about how to ask a question on virtual. And one of the key parts of it is after you ask the question, shut up, right? Because there's two things that happen. The introverts need time to think of a real answer, and the extroverts hate the silence so much at some point they're just going to start talking. Right?
So this is
that's
a
how you
good
get
question. Which one do you think I am?
Well, by default, I would say extrovert. But because you asked me, right, I'm probably going to have to say you're now ambivert or introvert, but you're still a person that just doesn't like the silence.
So I am pretty stably in the introvert column, actually.
I think I've seen this in your meetings. Like I see you kind of like your default is like, I'd like to stay behind the scenes here. Can I just like I'm support, but I get your I feel your support. Like I know you're there,
Yeah.
Miranda,
Well, I mean,
but you're
and
like, yeah,
it's all about where you draw energy from, right? So
yeah,
like it's
yeah,
not about do I like talking to people or not. I like everybody likes connecting, right? But where do I recharge? And I recharge not in large groups of people.
yeah. So have you heard this term ambivert?
I have not heard it, but I understand what it means.
Yeah, by default, it's just like you look like an extrovert some of the times, but you got to go like hide and recharge at some point. And a
Yep.
lot of actually speakers are ambiverts because while they love that energy of the stage, they're not like the true extroverts. Then jump in the audience, right? We're there. We close the bar down, and that's
Yeah,
me.
right. And get
Right?
up and do it the next day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But the introvert is like get off the stage, go to the spa, right? Go to read a
Yep.
book.
Take a minute.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, hilarious, Marina. What advice would you give? Like, like we have a lot of NSA chapters, and there might be, the board year is about to come to roll over in a couple months. What would you tell all the new directors of member experience?
That's a great question. So, I mean, here's the thing about sometimes people hear like this member experience or they hear about what other organizations are doing. And I think sometimes we can get a little paralyzed by all the things and by
All
going,
the things.
oh my gosh, I have, you mean I have to be emailing and calling and doing this and I have to do this and I have to do X and I have to do all of these things. I don't have time for that. And they shut down, right? Like where they
Right.
say, sorry, I need to resign because I don't have time for that. Like, which
Devastating for
don't
us
do that. Like,
presidents. Yeah.
yeah, always have a
Yeah.
conversation. If that is tickling in your mind and you're like, I don't know if I can handle this, always have a conversation before you make any decisions. But
Yeah.
just start, do something, whatever it happens to be. If you just start down that member experience path, it's going to be better than where you're coming from. Don't feel like you have to do everything at once. But some of like I always say just guiding principles, like it's not
Yeah.
particular tips or anything like that, but just kind of things to keep in mind. And the first thing for our chapter leaders, generally speaking, they all have clients, right? The
Mhm.
the principles that you use with your clients or your prospective clients in terms of customer service is
Yeah.
not all that different from the ideas, principles you should have around member service or member experience, right? Like how do you treat
Yeah.
your clients? Work on treating your members to be receiving that same kind of value. So
Mm.
I'm sure our volunteer leaders are already doing a lot of this already. They just need to translate it into the chapter space. But
Yeah.
um, I always try and put myself in the shoes of the person I'm talking to or communicating with or trying to help.
Agree.
And it's like, I am kind of getting to that point in my life where I'm not exactly old and crotchety, but I'll have when I am in another service industry or whatever, and I've had this, person helping me as a customer, and there's obvious things that they miss, and I'm just like, really? Like, did you think about where I was coming from here? So I always try and put myself in the shoes of the person I'm talking to understand what they may be feeling, where they may be coming from, whether it's a positive interaction or one that they've had a negative experience. Like I always try to think of it from their perspective.
Oh, I really appreciate that. And here's an idea like so our chapter recently decided not to raise rates, but we did decide to offer something like a season ticket. So in the beginning of the year, you have an opportunity to buy all the in-person meetings at once at like a 25% discount. We call it a season pass,
Nice.
right? And
Yeah.
and one of the things that we made the suggestion to was like they were going to have to try and require everyone to re-register, and I'm like, oh my gosh, don't do that. Like, when you buy the season pass, why don't you we'll get our admin to auto register you into the 4 programs, and then we ask for the courtesy, like if you can't be there, please let us know so that we can give the
Right.
seat to somebody else.
Right. Make it easy, right?
Make it easy. Yeah, make it. Yeah. And my
Yeah.
other piece that I took for that, Miranda, too, is for all the directors out there, find the thing you love to do. So let's say we were a bunch of speakers. Like we love people for the most part. That's a broad, great generalization. And so if one of the things I'll do as president is give an offer and say, I'll assume you want to meet all the members because it's a tangible number. It's like we're 75. It's not impossible to
Mhm,
meet all of them just for a half hour to say hi. I just want to know, like, there's a bunch of speakers in our chapter I still don't know.
mhm.
And I think those things like that will pay dividends if you do things that you like doing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
just do the things that you
absolutely.
like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And
Well,
then
cool. Oh, go ahead. You got more. Please
I
do
was
it.
just gonna say, like, the other thing too, like thinking on your example about like have your admin register for them for the other events, like anticipate what that need is gonna look like,
Yeah.
right? Like, so if you've got a situation where someone is wondering about a program or something like that, instead of just sending them the link to that program or whatever it happens to be, offer, hey, can I get you registered for it? Like you're asking about it. Clearly you have a need. What's the next step in that thought process that they might have? So anticipate what that is and act on it before they need to ask. So yeah, those are all great ideas, John.
Here, I'll give you a gift. Right? Have you ever read Chris Matthews? You know, the political analyst, Chris Matthews wrote a book called Hardball. Have you ever read this book?
I haven't read it.
So inside of the book, though, is I thought this thing that I've used with me in volunteer leadership ever since because I've been on boards of other associations, and he writes it down, and he says every great politician too has learned these tools and techniques and used them in affinative, and one of them is called the ask.
Mm-hmm.
And the ask is like when you ask somebody to serve on the board, when you ask somebody to serve on a committee, and even if they say no, there's value in the ask because they do realize that you pick them out of like, again, the 75 members or whatever, saying, I thought you might be a good mix for this.
Right.
So even if
Right.
you say no, but of course, if they say yes, then you get like a whole bunch of hours of volunteer work. So the ask is really, they said, one of the most powerful tools. And one of the things that I've done recently, like in the storyteller contest, there were specific people I reached out to who were members, but kind of sort of inactive.
Mm-hmm.
And I said,
Mm-hmm.
I think you could win this contest. I want to ask you to register. Let's do this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something like I've worked with volunteer boards and committees and stuff like
Mm.
that a long time. And that's something, honestly, like, I mean, we're going a little bit outside member experience, but thinking about board management and succession planning and that sort of thing.
Because that's what you
Um,
do. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the boards, they knew, and there's no offense to it, but they're part of their job is to find the replacement. Like, and
Yes.
every board should think that way. Every board member should
Yeah.
think it's my job to find my replacement, whether that's I'm president or chair, what have you, or just, a board member, or director.
Yeah.
Part of your job being there is to make sure your organization succeeds and continues to thrive after you're gone. So who's going to replace you? So awesome.
Yeah. Succession planning. All right. Well, Miranda, let's take our eye to the future. You see all this tech. All right, virtual. You've probably seen hybrid. Oh, you've done hybrid, I think, since I
I
remember. I
have,
don't know if you
yeah.
were. I don't know if you were there for that, but and by the way, it was great too working with you on the NSA Foundation program. We raised $4,500 with by also educating speakers about the educational and the academic market. A couple of my friends were attendees, and they were blown away. So again, I just want to thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Uh, and so yeah, so what do you see in the future, right? So what do you see for the future of virtual or hybrid? Do you have a wish or do you have a death sentence? Any one of those. I just want to hear what you think.
So, and like my virtual has been around for decades, right? Like it
Mm.
just continues to be, more engaging, a better experience for people who are joining. Like, I actually earned like which has been a while ago, but I earned my whole just about one of my bachelor's degrees virtually, which personally for me, and despite the fact that I'm an introvert, I hate learning in a virtual environment. Like it's just even now, like it's fun connecting with you and like
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
you know, getting value out of those virtual things. But honestly, like I just like being in a room with people. But it's been around for a long time, and I think it's necessary to continue.
mhm,
Whether regardless of your feelings on it, like you're in Redondo Beach. I'm in northern Minnesota. Like we would not have been able to meet up and have this conversation. So I think technology is a tool, right? Like
yes, yeah,
technology is there to make our lives better, have better opportunities, save time, like that sort of thing. So it's not, I don't know, like this whole like return to work kind of thing that has happened in the past year or two or whatever. Like, I think when we look at these things as tools to make our lives better, the
Yeah.
conversation becomes a lot more simple. Like, does this improve
Mm,
our lives when we, I should add a little caveat, when we fully embrace and adopt it?
right.
Because,
Right.
you know, we all know people are like, I just don't want to deal. That's okay. Like if you just don't want to deal, that's okay. That's your choice.
Yeah.
But don't say it's the technology's fault. Like, did you fully embrace and deploy it? You know, like we've all been there. We all bought that program, whatever, app. You know, we all subscribed to the thing and we're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. But we didn't invest the time in making sure it was actually, we put that tool to use, you know. So
Right.
it's here
All
to
right.
stay. I love hybrid opportunities because, like I said, I love to connect in person, but I respect that there are certain factors that prevent people from being in a physical space, whatever those
Yeah.
factors may be. So
Yes.
I personally am a proponent of doing hybrid when and wherever possible.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, that's my viewpoint. And then like John, I'm sure you've seen the stuff about um like the VR headsets and stuff. So you're like this stuff's super interesting because I've watched these videos of like, you know, they had people put on these VR headsets to sit in a meeting and you like see this board table or whatever. And you can see the people in front of you, but don't look down because nobody has legs. Like they haven't gotten that far. Like there's only
Well,
so much processing power at this point, but it's going to grow. And I honestly, I do think that there is going to be an opportunity in the space for having more I'm going to say more engaged virtual meetings so that it's more like being in person. And
yeah.
it's interesting, again, going back to technology being a tool, um, you know, that a lot of effort is being put behind making virtual meetings be like you're in person still, right? So everybody identifies that, you know, there wouldn't be billions of dollars invested in technology to make being in a virtual space seem like being in an in-person space if there wasn't value there. So I think everybody recognizes, whether they admit to it or not, the need for both things to live together and live together well. So I don't know. There's my opinion on that. Take
Let's
it for
check
what you
this
will.
out. So I'm in this meeting with a bunch of, business owners, and one of the guys' business is this website called mysugardaddy.com.
Is this gonna get weird?
Kind of, but not too weird, not too weird. But he's really successful. I think he started in Europe, and so yeah, so he can arrange for meetings. Like if you need to go to an award show but you don't have a date, you could like put that up there, right? And so, but one of the things I saw on his website, it was that he has started VR dating.
Oh
And I got a
God.
chance to go
Sure,
ask him about it. I'm like,
sure.
is this thing real? And he goes, oh, we did the demo. And he goes, but let me tell you, it was really kind of to get press. But he goes, no, we actually did it. People put on headsets and then got into situations like in a bar and just had conversations, and people dug it. And so like I thought that's weird stuff that's happening. But on the flip side, especially in the speaker industry, today we are supposed to take a field trip, and we're going to Howie Mandel's company, which can project your hologram when you get in a box anywhere in the world. And speakers,
Mhm,
you got to pay attention to this because
mhm.
this is like the
Right.
next level of Zoom,
Right.
right?
Right. Like, because I'm sure you've had lots of conversations, John, about clients and you're, you know, maybe negotiating and travel comes up, right? I mean,
Yeah.
travel is a huge industry, obviously, and it's very costly. So
Yes.
having you know, having opportunities like that is very cool. And you're absolutely right. People should be paying attention to that.
So, and because if it's about the content and you learn how to deliver in this way, then you can do what we've seen in virtual. I've keynoted in 3 countries in one day, and before I couldn't do that. It's just
Right.
physically impossible. So,
Right. Awesome. Very cool.
well, well, cool, Miranda. Well, thank you so much for your time. If you wanted people to remember one thing from this time together, what would you want that one thing to be?
Invest in your community.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I love that. I love too, Miranda, that now you're helping our community. I love that I learned a lot more about you too, and I love that community. Actually, I'll give you this other one part too. Have you ever heard of Daybreaker?
No.
So Radha Agarwal wrote a really good book about called Belong, about building this community. And the whole thing about Daybreaker is that she got on Oprah, but basically her short version was she loved dance clubs but hated the party culture.
Oh,
So she created a morning dance party. So like they do yoga for an hour, and then there's 2 hours of full blown
dance
dancing.
party. I
Yeah,
love
and then
it.
you take a shower and go to work. And I've become a huge fan. Like they ran some of the coolest virtual I've ever seen. Like Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, performed live on their virtual.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah,
That's
so
so
pick up
fun.
that book. And I love that you love community. So Miranda, thank you again for your time.
Thanks, John. It's been great visiting with you and all of our friends virtually. So nice to share.
Outstanding. I'm John Chen. I'm the host here of Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. We've been talking to Maranda DeSanto, CAE at NSA. She's got all the letters. And if you like community, you got to make sure and follow her. There's a link inside of the comments. Make sure and check that out. And if you haven't heard about or haven't joined NSA, hey, consider it because it's an amazing thing. Thanks again, Miranda.
Thanks, John.
Don't we start people and keep whole people? Show me a